Joined right now by Kimberly Dawes, Keller Williams in Plymouth.
Yes.
Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks so much for having me, Chris.
The weather's fantastic, finally cooperating.
Yes, gorgeous.
Right in the middle of the swing of the spring market, and everything's awesome, right?
Everything is awesome.
Just like the movie. It's a little bit of a grind out there.
It is. And, in the Plymouth market, there's over 250 homes on the market alone right now. Why are those homes sitting? Why haven't they moved? And, I think from a real estate perspective, what are some of our pet peeves? What are some of the realtor pet peeves out there that we struggle with sellers? Because most sellers hire a real estate professional to help them with comps and help them with a list price, because that's really the most important thing to sellers, of course.
True story.
Is how to get the most money from their house and be able to move on to their next destination, whatever that may be. And our job is to get them there. But with that being said, I think one of the pet peeves is when you look around your neighborhood and you may see your home's not selling, but the neighbor's down the street sold and the person's down 2 streets sold, and why hasn't mine sold? It's really, really simple. It's not magical, it's mathematical. And it really has to do with the numbers. It's all about the numbers and trusting your real estate agent.
Key point, trusting the real estate agent, trusting your team, I should say, right?
Yes.
Within real estate, people become professionals after they hire the true professionals, right? Because TV shows and all the stuff they see on TV and do-it-yourself network, it's not that easy. You got to listen to your agent.
You do. And I think most agents have good training, good background. We take continuing education constantly. And for most realtors that you're going to hire a full-time individual like myself. And we're going to bring in professionals if we don't know the answers. There's always going to be that unusual, most unique home on the water or in a unique neighborhood that may need some extra attention. And that's when somebody like myself will even bring in an appraiser. I just did one recently, not in Plymouth, but in the Carver neighborhood, that was a little tough for me. And I needed to make sure to ensure that that customer had trust in me, that I would bring in the right person to help us find that number.
And that's interesting, is you took it upon yourself as a professional to go that extra step, have the appraisal done, make sure you're looking at a real number, because at some point you have to sit across the table from the seller and they have a price in their head. You have probably a much more accurate price in regards to what it could potentially sell for. Those numbers don't always match.
Well, so let's talk about another pet peeve, Chris. Let's talk about sellers that don't want to share their number. Like, I don't want to share my number because I want you to tell me your number first. Really, that's not helpful to the agent. We need to know where your mindset is, and we also need to know how to relate to you and show you reasons why maybe your number's too low, maybe your number's perfect and we're going to hope to get multiple offers, or maybe it's too high and maybe we're willing to take that on, but in 2 weeks, if your home isn't under agreement, we need to retake a look at that number, and we need to have an agreement that we're going to sit down and do that and maybe try something different. It might not be marketing. It might not be 5 more open houses. It may be a slight price adjustment. But I think it's really important for sellers to know that as much as they want their highest number, why wouldn't we want the highest number? Because we get paid on the agreed sales price.
Correct. And you wanted to make it work ultimately. So, and breaking it down here, we got to listen to the agent. We got to trust them and communicate.
Yes.
Right? Sounds like some key components of a lot of things in life. But when it comes to actually selling the home, staging plays so much bigger of a role now than it did in the past. Are you still seeing that as a major component of the homes that are out there right now?
We are. I would say specifically in vacant homes, it's always smart to stage, especially maybe some transitional rooms that people aren't sure if it's a den or what you should use it for. People know where a kitchen table goes. People know where maybe a master bed might go. But I think it's nice for people to feel comfortable inside a living room. Staging also goes not only on the inside, but it's really on the outside too. So we want to stage the curb appeal of a home. If somebody drives up and there's lots of leaves in the yard, it looks unkempt, the bushes haven't been trimmed, there aren't flowers, right now it's beautiful. It's a great time to put some beautiful, fresh, potted flowers on your front porch. Curb appeal is everything. So as much as you want to stage inside, declutter, you also want to make sure you're decluttering the outside and not having your trash cans out by the street. Things really should look neat, tidy, so that when a buyer comes in, they feel like, I could live here. I don't have to do anything. Everything's cleaned up. So it should look, power wash your house. Things, simple things like that
First
can make a big
impressions.
difference.
start when you pull up to the house. Makes sense.
Absolutely. They pull up when you pull up into the neighborhood, and there are sometimes you can't change those things. You can't change what your neighbor's doing next door, but you can make the best impression of your property and who is your buyer. You have to identify who's your buyer, and you might have to think about when you fell in love with the house, what your first impression of it was.
Sure. And it's funny what the mind does. Even if you might like inside, that first impression, the curb appeal really makes a difference.
It does.
It can impact somebody might not even go into the house because they just don't like the way it looks outside.
Well, and if there's, let's say there's chipped paint, they're wondering what else maybe is covered up inside the house. So as soon as they walk in, we don't know what buyers' kind of ticks are as to what they're all looking for, but they really are looking for sharp, clean, easy, simple maintenance, whether their family is just themselves or they have a big family or a blended family.
Sure. Now, you do business all over the South Shore. Your office is based in Plymouth.
Yes.
And you mentioned there are 255 homes on the market right now in Plymouth compared to a lot of other towns and areas around
Yes.
the greater Boston area. That is significantly more. Now, granted, it's the largest town, I think east of the Mississippi or something crazy like that.
Yeah, it's 100 square miles actually. So Plymouth goes all the way down to the Sagamore and Bourne Bridges, all the way up to exit 7 in Kingston. So it's a huge town, and it varies. North Plymouth is very different than South Plymouth. Downtown is very different than West Plymouth. So you really need to know the market if you're working in the Plymouth area. And sometimes people start out in one area and then we branch out to another in Plymouth. But you could take many weekends exploring Plymouth because of its beauty and its coast.
It's a cutthroat market out there in a lot of areas, especially, let's say, the city. People are waiving home inspections. There's multiple bid situations. We had a deal this week where our buyer was tied into an 18 offer bid
Wow.
situation. That's really crazy. I know farther out you go, the less you see that, but are you seeing that all the way down in Plymouth? Or
We will see it. We will see it with homes that are competitively priced. So when they're listening to their agent and their agent is saying, if we price it here, we will have multiple offers. Sometimes that's the best thing to do is listen to your agent. Again,
Yeah.
going back. And if that's the strategy that you want with multiple offers as to what people are hearing on Zillow and Realtor.com about the multiple offer market, it is happening in Plymouth and it's happening on the South Shore all the time. But if your house is not priced correctly, you will not see a multiple offer situation. We know that's not the price.
it makes sense. And I think Plymouth, for somebody that's moving out of the city, a lot of people don't realize there's a lot of commuters to the city that live in Plymouth. It's a great area.
It is.
And price point wise, it's a lot more favorable than a lot of other spots on the South Shore.
Absolutely. And if people are looking for land and they want to be close to the beach and they love the ponds, they might want to get down to the Cape on the weekends. Plymouth is a great town.
It's one of the few spots that land is not a major issue, right?
Right.
And so
you can have an acre and you can have your privacy. And I think that's one of the reasons why I love Plymouth, and I love my privacy too.
thanks for stopping by, Kimberly.
Thanks so much for having me, Chris.
If you want to connect with Kimberly, what's the best way to do that? I know you're crushing it on Instagram right now.
Find me on Instagram at @kdawes. I also have a business Facebook page, but you can connect with me pretty easily. You'll find me on the web.
This is Real Estate Talk Boston, right here on Boston.com.